One issue both presidential candidates face is the growing problem of food waste, which contributes to pollution and greenhouse gases. There have been several efforts, both globally and nationally, to tackle that challenge. But one new technique is gaining momentum. It's called upcycling. Researchers at Drexel University in Philadelphia, about 60 miles from here, have been producing upcycled products, creating new categories of food from discarded ingredients. NewsHours Weekend Special Correspondent Allison, Aubrey, and producer Beth Durkin have the final report from their 5-part series, Waste Not, Want Not.
Should we taste it?
Yeah, you can taste it. That white doughy substance that Caitlin Magental and Claire Schlemme are tasting is okara. It's a pulpy protein that's left over after you make tofu.
Oh, it's getting wet.
They're at Hodo, an organic tofu manufacturer in Oakland, California. Schlemme is the CEO of a food startup called Renewal Mill, just blocks away. Renewal Mill pays Hodo to dry out the okara into strips like this. Then it's milled into a flour that Renewal Mill sells. Caitlin Magental is one of Schlemme's customers, and she's here to see how it's done. Magental is CEO of her own startup called Pulp Pantry. It's located in Los Angeles. Renewal Mill's flour is an ingredient in a new line of chips that Magental's company makes. They're called pulp chips.
Why would somebody want to eat snacks with okara in it?
So it's full of nutrition. It's about 2/3 fiber and 1/3 protein. So it's kind of like just a pile of like delicious nutrition right here.
Min Tsai owns Hodo. It's the 3rd largest tofu manufacturer in the U.S. Min says all this okara is typically discarded by most U.S. manufacturers.
So you're telling me the most nutritious part of the plant usually just gets tossed away?
Absolutely, one of the most nutritious part of the plant. And we know fiber is really important. It's actually not fully utilized.
In Vietnam, Min Tsai grew up eating okara. There they use it to make vegetable pancakes.
We're doing what we already do in Asia because it's really for human consumption in Asia. But here, we don't think about it the same way.
Magental and Schlemme are part of a new wave of entrepreneurs who are thinking that way. They're taking ingredients once considered to be the dregs and transforming them into whole new products. It's called upcycling.
This is even just a sliver of all those fibrous byproducts that come out of food manufacturing every year in the U.S. and beyond. And so it seemed like a tremendous opportunity.
An opportunity because many manufacturers are happy to get rid of their waste. It saves them the hauling fees to throw it out. And Magental's chips have another upcycled ingredient.
What do we have here?
So it looks like we have apple, we've got some kale in there, we got some celery stalks.
It's leftover pulp from cold-pressed juice companies, and Magental mixes that in with the okara to make these chips.
How much of the volume of a piece of produce is really just the pulp?
It can be anywhere from 15 to 50% pulp.
In some cities, there are juice bars on almost every corner, and that adds up to a lot of pulp.
We've worked with juiceries that process millions of pounds of pulp a year, and some juiceries that process solely carrots and might produce 80,000 pounds of pulp a day. A lot of people struggle to find the end use for it.
And that struggle plays out throughout the food industry, but it's a struggle that can translate into profits for upcycling startups. One company, Barnana, is now a multi-million-dollar company that upcycles damaged bananas into snacks called Banana Bites. Another, Treasure 8, is a startup with a patented dehydrating process. They rescue and repurpose damaged produce by dehydrating the produce and making products like beet chips and apple chips. And these companies have plenty of ingredients to work with. A report by the Natural Resources Defense Council finds 40% of all the food that's grown never makes it to our plates. It estimates that about 125 billion pounds of food gets tossed out each year. And when food ends up in a landfill, it emits a potent greenhouse gas, methane, which contributes to climate change. The United Nations Climate Change Panel concluded that wasted food is responsible for up to 10% of all human-induced greenhouse gases globally.
The more that we can keep food out of landfills and put it back into feeding people, the more that not only we can address issues like the efficiency of our food system and making sure that all of those resources that go into growing our food are actually preserved to their purpose, which is feeding people.
And these upcycling companies hope to win over customers and make a profit by telling their stories.
Kat, tell us about yours and what's in it, and then also how the upcycled broth performed.
Jonathan Deutsch runs the food lab at Drexel University's Food and Hospitality Department in Philadelphia. He's conducted several studies on consumer attitudes towards upcycled products.
Consumers are willing to pay more if they know that this product is upcycled, if it's good for the environment, if there's good messaging. They don't need to know that they had the most beautiful pale pink grocery store tomatoes in their tomato sauce. They don't mind knowing that these were split and burst and overripe. That could and should be part of the story.
Deutsch started the Food Lab back in 2014. It's become a go-to hub for food innovation, and these days the focus is on upcycled products.
We're working with medium-sized companies in that $10 to $150 million of sales range. They're not doing a lot of innovation in their own systems, and so have been asking us to help with new product ideas, ways to divert waste into products.
Deutsch says it's not just startups interested in upcycling.
We've seen a big increase in multinationals who have been interested in upcycling, in greening their own practices. Think of things like Lunchables, right? Things you could stack, put together.
In class, Deutsch challenges his students to come up with new ways to use upcycled ingredients and create new products. Today, Kat Andres is working with the concentrated soup broth that Deutsch helped a company called Matriarch develop. It's made from discarded vegetable bits that the company buys from distributors. Another student, Anna Wilson, is working with flour made from sunflower seed shells. The flour has a nutty flavor and is a good source of protein. She hopes to perfect a crunchy biscuit out of it.
We're using for selective eaters, children on the autism spectrum who prefer crunchy, crispy things, often don't get enough protein because if you think about protein, meat, and dairy, and tofu, and beans, and peanut butter, a lot of protein sources are mushy.
According to Deutsch, upcycling is here to stay. He's working with a group called the Upcycling Food Association to conduct focus groups. One goal is to determine which symbols may work best to label these products and make them stand out as upcycled.
Within a few years, upcycled won't be this quirky little corner of the food world, but you'll see a major cereal box or potato chip or pasta sauce manufacturer with a little upcycled logo, and it will be just as normal as seeing an organic logo.
One study estimates that upcycled foods now make up a $46 billion market in the U.S., and industry experts expect it to continue to grow. But despite Deutsch's optimism, upcycling startups, like everyone else, face uncertain economic times ahead.